Now, Basti, I know you're someone who followed Yuna incredibly closely over the last years.
Oh, there the die roll is coming. That's an important one that basically starts your journey for this. And that's a 12 from Leonardo. Oh my.
Yeah, that's a good start. But I need to ask you something, Basti. We have seen Yuna perform well at the German Nationals already.
Yes.
Where is Malice Pidomos gone?
Well, the long bond between Yuna and Malice is broken, and it was already broken at the German National Championship as Yuna has pivoted over to the Kewl strategy, which has proven to be very successful in her hands with the second place finish at that very German National Championship. But she will have to go second now against Leonardo, and Leonardo has maybe taken the approach we have just discussed, because he brought one of the big combo decks in the format. He has brought the Power Patron strategy with a couple of those Archmage cards in there. So let's see whether that approach pays off. At least he won the first die roll, which is definitely quite the start. And we are starting off with Pendulum Treasure, and Pendulum Treasure is basically Foolish Burial, but Foolish Burial on Pendulum cards doesn't really work, so you just basically put it into the action deck instead, putting the first Power Patron card in there. And I think starting with those motions, you immediately do realize that this gotta be a pure Power Patron deck, because no other deck really is playing all of those different Power Patron cards.
Yeah, especially with the Treasure, Nervado is such a crazy starter, right? Because when you add it to the extra deck face up, you get to special summon a Power Patron, and then you are basically already summoning monsters without normal summon, and that historically in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty good in combo decks.
It definitely is. It's crazy. And we talked a lot about Yuna, but Leonardo, I mean, as all of our 16 players here, has had quite a successful season as well, because he, in all of those YCS events, he always was in top 64. He really was, for every major event, showing up and making sure that his name is up there, was basically in the top 10 of the leaderboard for the points player of the entire season, and therefore, rightfully so, is in this playoff. And on the, it's completely the different thing to Yuna, because Yuna was always going with her deck. It usually was one deck that she was piloting, usually Malice, nowadays Kewl, but Leonardo, he has been switching decks like crazy. We saw him play Yummy, we saw him play Draco Tail. He was playing all kind of different decks. Even Malice also was sometimes a deck of his choice, but now on to completely new things, which are Power Patron cards.
But, I mean, those players, even though the deck is new, they have had plenty of time to practice with their new decks for this points playoff. The race was so incredibly close in the end with all of those national performances. Some big heartbreaks there from other players who didn't quite make it. 17th place, always a really, really heartbreaking one. But that's the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, right? When you are competing at the highest level, you are going to face some losses as well in your career, and then it's your job to get back up on your feet and start kicking it off in the next tournament. Also, if you couldn't make the points playoff, there's still WQP this week.
That is true. Basically, the plan B. I mean, it's a lot easier, at least just by the raw numbers, to go through 15 other players instead of going through over 2,000 other players to book your spot for the World Championship. Still, you will like that. You already put a lot of effort into your deck for this weekend, so having a second chance on the main event can't hurt. But for now, we do see Leonardo actually showing that this deck, and we haven't really had a real Pendulum deck for a while, but this is a Pendulum deck, as we do go into our link 2 here. We go into Beyond the Pendulum, and that actually is basically modern days Electromite, but that card is still not allowed, so you just go with that one instead.
Can you imagine how crazy Electromite is when he just mills the Power Patrons and then triggers them?
Right? Is it maybe time to bring it back, or is it too dangerous? I don't know.
Not our job to decide as well.
For real, for real.
But Electromite, a fan favorite and also not so fan favorite, so it really depends where you stand on the whole debate. But Leonardo is now setting up a possible Pendulum summon, because Beyond the Pendulum also locks you out if you haven't Pendulum summoned after her summon.
Yeah, that's true. So we make sure that that is actually good now, and we do bring both of these big guys back. And yeah, so I'm saying it's a Pendulum deck, but it's one of those decks that I really like, because it really is going after every possible summoning mechanic you could ever imagine. Because we have seen there already is an Exceed monster in the graveyard, which we went through, which of course was with Jupiter, but there also was already a Synchro monster revealed for the effect of our field spell for the Vidolia, which is also the Junora, the Power Patron of Tuning, and then there even is fusion monsters, as you bring up onto the screen here as well. That's the beauty of Power Patrons, right?
Yeah.
It's like the new lore deck, you could say. It's basically after the Fallen story, after Fallen of Albaz, now the new main guy is Medius. And Medius is also part of this deck, of course, and can be used in many different ways.
I like it when all of those summoning mechanics come together for decks.
Same.
I was going to say that...
There he is, I just mentioned him.
Yeah, that branded cards, they miss out on Exceed summoning sometimes, because and also on Link summoning. But in Genesis, actually, Fallen of the White Dragon is often used for rank 4 Exceeds. Gets you started in different decks.
Yeah, absolutely. And Leonardo is going through the motions. And there's also another one of those new cards which hasn't been around for too long, but in this pure deck is very, very, very much a staple stay as well. Secret Rare, TCG exclusive actually, and therefore something we are seeing here in our regions for the very first time, and that is the Shade the Obscure, which is now being placed into the Pendulum Zone, and that will, of course, be used wisely here on Leonardo's end. But I mean, you brought a combo deck to the points playoff, you rolled a 12 on the stage in your very first match, and you go uninterrupted until now. Because Yuna is trying to use Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit on that effect, but Leonardo immediately pointed... You could be tricked, you could think this is still beyond the Pendulum, but we are beyond that point and we have exceeded that, and we went into Exceed the Pendulum instead. And very quickly, we saw Leonardo just pointing on that Exceed the Pendulum while Yuna was activating the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, as we have just use that effect afterwards.
Yeah, the summoning of a Pendulum monster from your hand or graveyard is actually a quick effect of the Exceed the Pendulum, so you can respond to the Ghost Ogre with that. You're taking away the Link arrows, however you've already Pendulum summoned. But I want to ask you a question. If you are bringing a combo deck to a tournament like this, and I do agree with you that it is more of the higher ceiling approach that I like, if the possibly best deck and perhaps most played deck in the room, Kewl, which would not be a read that is too crazy,
for sure,
plays like 20 different hand traps, how safe is it to play one of those decks?
Well, if your deck plays through hand interactions as swiftly, as nicely as a Power Patron deck, I don't think it matters really. Like, we just saw that Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is in a lot of those decks for Q2 nowadays, because it has applications into, for example, this Power Patron matchup as well, but we just countered it perfectly and without even second thinking. So I do think we don't really mind it that well. And one thing you gotta say about the Power Patron cards, something I think we also realized at Nationals while we were playing and casting those cards, they play into fields so incredibly nicely as well, because whenever you deal with it, whenever you destroy them, they're like, oh yeah, I'm activating my effect in the extra deck now, so I still generate value, and it trades so well into any kind of field. So going first, which we are witnessing right now, we're able to put up crazy fields, but even going second, the deck definitely has some nice applications.
Especially one of the most loved cards from the last month as a non-engine piece was Fallen and the Virtuous.
Totally.
And that card versus the Power Patron engine is very much lackluster. You can kind of negate the scale effects, however your opponent is still going to trigger the extra deck face-up effects. So they are still going to get something out there.
Oh, we're still not done with the combo, because that is Archmage Non-Finito. But, oh, we do set a card after. Is that our turn now? Because that is not as crazy. Surely we're not done yet. We bring out Shade the Obscure, and from Shade the Obscure and Medius the Pure, we do continue to combo off, going into that new Power Patron Link monster as well.
So Leonardo just keeps on cooking with the Purification Power Patron. We are getting access to Etherealize. Now that is already looking a little scary. We are setting a card and I believe that was a pass. Now that is, you said it, not the craziest of end boards. However, Kewl is also not known to play super well into big boards or semi boards as well. You want to basically hand trap your opponent out of the entire situation. Or you're taking the Triff approach, as people call it. Just keep your hand traps in your hand. If you're playing versus a big combo pile, you throw them on the first turn. If not, you can just use them as breakers.
That's true, but now Leonardo, immediately you mentioned the card. Fallen and the Virtuous, and that is such a safe approach usually against the Q-Tune deck to just get rid of their first normal summon. And there also is an answer to the Q-Tune Synchro, which would have worked out nicely there. But, ooh, okay.
Has she searched for the Reco?
She probably didn't activate the effect, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, that is.
And we're picking up the cards! Big combo from Leonardo, backed up by the Fallen and the Virtuous, and Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring means that he is the one in the lead. He is the one on the board here in that very first round match of the points playoff. And I mean, Yuna, last year was swift, right? She came in as the underdog and then just swept through the Swiss stage. And basically, with the rules that we are applying this weekend, she would have already been qualified with that 4-0 in Swiss. But she managed anyway, so she didn't care. She just qualified into the main event of the World Championship in Paris then through that top 4 match that she still had to play. But that's not the dream start now.
But with our new rules for the qualification here, it is not as tragic to lose the first round.
That's true.
Because sometimes you said, okay, it's then about tiebreakers, right? If you lose the first round, that's really bad for your tiebreakers. You might become 5th place after Swiss, even if you go X1. And with the new rules, I don't think that's that bad anymore, because if there is someone undefeated and they don't get, you know, a double loss in the last round, then problem.
No, you're right. That could actually be very good for... someone might be very happy that someone other goes undefeated in the tournaments, because that could mean, hey, I'm actually part of this top 4 match now as well. It's weird to call it top 4 when it's actually 5th place playing against someone else.
Let's just call them elimination matches.
We'll figure it out along the way. Elimination match is one I like. I can definitely get behind that. But now, going first against Power Patron. One card that has been around for a while, and I think also still is around, that never is a happy sight for Pendulum decks, is Anti-Spell Fragrance.
Yeah.
You're just praying that that card is nowhere to be seen when you are on a Pendulum-themed deck. Let's see, is it in the side deck of Yuna here? I don't want to give it away just yet, but there are trap cards in her side deck, I will say that.
But in a synchro-based deck, it's going to be significantly harder to search for that card, basically.
True.
So that is a good thing for the Power Patron deck. However, I think the going first field, especially when you're able to look at your opponent's hand, of the Q-Tune deck is still pretty strong. However, there is crazier end boards. I mean, the thing that makes Q-Tune so strong is that strong pilots with the deck, they know their opponent's hand, they can manipulate the top deck, and then they can work their way around whatever their opponent has. If you're playing versus a deck that has a lot of play going second, that has so many different pushes, it gets tougher, especially when you're playing versus a strategy like Power Patron. Not every one of these duelists may know the entire deck by heart.
I'm sure Yuna does. Yuna spent so much time on testing. Surely she has played against this matchup a million times already.
That's actually maybe a good point. But if you're encountering someone who doesn't know all of your cards by heart, then maybe there is an opening to play around the combo of Q-Tune and break the field.
That's fair. From the top of your head, you do in Q-Tune have the chance to just basically access one of your hand interactions from the deck by special summoning it out with Q. Ash Blossom, Joyous Spring, or Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit against the Power Patron deck. What do you think? In case you don't have either of them.
That's a very tough one, but I guess we will let Yuna decide on her own, because the players are ready, so let's go over to the table.
You're not getting off that easily. What's the answer, Leo? I think it's still Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring in the end, right? Like, Ghost Ogre is a nice application into the matchup, but I think Ash Blossom is just so versatile. It can hit other cards as well, so I think you want to go with that. Ultimately, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring would be a good find in the opening hand already, as we could counter the Molchami Full thrown down by Leonardo, but it seems like it has resolved.
The good thing for Yuna is that even if you just end on a Track Maker, that's not the worst thing in the world. Starting with the Rotary and the Reco, I would heavily recommend to at least make the Track Maker, give one draw, and then search for double Q-Tune Synchro. I really like the abbreviation of this, KTS. That sounds so, it sounds cool. It sounds like a band.
Yeah, it does very much sound like a band.
That fits the theme of Q-Tune.
It does. They're just jamming. Leonardo, throws down Droll and Lockbird, nullifying the Molchami Fuvolos that he himself has activated there. That's a crazy decision.
I think it's still correct, actually, because if the play is from Yuna to just start with a Reco normal summon, then you are going to be able to draw before the Trackmaker Synchro, and that is absolutely massive. She still gets to look.
At that hand.
Wow!
We got a new card in the hand to look at, and that is the Pot of Sloth there. Shiny version of it as well here on Leonardo's end.
And
that's a good card to have going
it's
second.
backed up by triple tactic talents. Even if you want to Ash that is going to be rather tough. But now another part of the effects of the Kewl tunes come in, because you can also add back monsters from the graveyard instead of just searching them. And we're starting off with a Remix. And Remix actually enables us to summon something back from the graveyard, add something back, and then immediately perform a Synchro Summon, which is a form of interaction on the opposing turn. And we're going, I think, immediately into a Zalen.
That seems right.
That is going to help. However, the triple tactic talents is so incredibly threatening towards Yuna, because you would want to negate the Pot of Sloth.
For sure. You got it, right?
Do you? It's just a draw for 2. So, I mean, you're basically putting the other cards back then, so you're not drawing anything, really.
That's true.
Oh, we're going in with a Remix immediately, so I think we're summoning a Rekko, and that is supposed to search as a Clip. So Clip is going to be our interaction with Zalen, and that's pretty good. That really saves us from Sloth plus triple tactic talents, because if we have the Clip on Sloth activation, we can go Clip, negate Zalen, and then we summon RS, so we are protected from the triple tactic talents as well. However, then we have nothing else to negate.
And there's the Clip. We do go for that approach. Sounds reasonable to me.
Someone clip this.
In case you missed it, that was the draw phase of Leonardo already happening as we drew for turn. And of course, with leading with the Pot of Sloth.
Do you negate? I think you let it go through. Honestly, if we only have very few negates, I think we have to kind of let it go through. I'm wondering if Yuna... I mean, surely she took back the mix, right? Because then that's another form of interaction.
Yeah, she did, she did.
If you summon out the Clip, you leave the Clip on the field, you go Rekko and mix into RS, so you get a pop as well to answer something at least.
Leo, here's where you can already tell that they are top-notch players, because I would have been way too impatient. I would have been like, that Pot of Sloth, it's crazy good, I'll negate it. But actually, it's just an Upstart Goblin here, like a little bit of an improved Upstart Goblin, I want to say.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think you can. Versus the cards you only saw, you cannot do that, never.
We found Meteors the Pure, which does get met with Effect Veiler, which is a huge application for it, because Effect Veiler struggles to find good targets against the Archmage strategy, but this is the prime candidate to throw it on, and that is the card that Leonardo got with his Pot of Sloth there, most likely.
Now triple tactic talents could be activated, however, you're just going to be faced with Clip into Zalen. Maybe Leonardo also has something like a...
But Leonardo was talking, so maybe he wants to go into the battle phase here.
I would like to see that, because you're basically forcing Yuna to sequence her interactions weirdly. So you could go Clip, make RS then, and pop the Meteors the Pure. But then if you want to use your Zalen negate and you have nothing else to use from hand, you would have to use RS on something and then Zalen, otherwise you cannot start a bigger chain than one.
That's true. So, or maybe we're just checking whether there's anything else on resolution from Yuna, which clearly there wasn't. And Leonardo is locked in. This is the opportunity of his lifetime. He wants to qualify for the World Championship, and he does throw in these talents now.
Does he have Fallen into Virtues? That would be absolutely crazy. If there is a Clip now, you chain Fallen into Virtues onto the Rekko or the Zalen, you are going to get something. Yeah, target the Rekko, and I think you have to Zalen negate that, because otherwise you're losing so much. But also the triple tactic talents is really, really tough. My goodness.
What are we doing with it though, Leo?
That was the perfect top deck.
Are we taking? Are we drawing? Are we looking? You have all options on the table here, really.
I mean, with the other cards we know in hand, and the Meteors being negated, and those were Pot of Sloth. Ah no, we don't know anything, because Pot of Sloth resolved.
That's the thing, yeah.
Oh, Fallen into Virtues was so perfect here. I think with the Effect Veiler in hand, you kind of have to let the you kind of have to negate the Pot of Sloth, because then Meteors is
that's where my logic comes in again. Yeah. Maybe sometimes it pays off to be impatient.
If you have the Effect Veiler, I think you have to. But now, we go into the B2B, which is a good way to add the Effect Veiler back into the hand.
That's true, but I think that's the danger of Pot of Sloth. Like, you allow the player that has already revealed their hand previously to basically just reshuffle and reorder their hand. So that you have that advantage of knowledge about their hand, and you're giving it up by them resolving their pot of sloth, really.
Yeah.
So it's really a tough game to play. I don't want to say that one thing is necessarily right or wrong, but it's definitely not as easy as a decision as it may seem on the surface. And there is Vidolium. We found the field spell, reveal Minerva, searching for another power patron straight from our deck.
But the Fuvalos Droll Lockbird combination was so incredibly strong for Leonardo just because he was actually also able to deny Eclipse. So the top deck was never known for Yuna.
That's true. And there, hold on, we're allowed to search, but we as well may be able to just immediately special summon onto the field the big power patron. And we do have one of the most annoying of them, of the power patrons, because it is so incredibly strong in the pendulum scale. And this is where the magic happens. We have outed the back-to-back with the pendulum effect of that power patron. And now, after already making sure that works, we have in the process destroyed 2 of our very own power patron cards as well, which now both trigger in the extra deck. So we have dealt with an opponent's card, and we do get 2 cards as a replacement for it. That's crazy.
We get to search and we get to add. That is absolutely huge. And now Yuna is sitting there with basically nothing. The B2B was outed before any monster effects were activated. Perhaps a RS could have helped a little bit more, because RS is actually a pretty good way to deal with a Jupredo in scale, because it just doesn't do anything with it. It just negates the effect. So that one is rather static there.
Now it gets interesting. Jupredo enabled all of that. We have now also activated maybe the most powerful spell of the deck, the Terminus, which is going to send the power patron from the deck or extra deck to the graveyard. And then you can also add a Dark Fairy. Some other decks are actually using that card to maybe even search for Dark Lord's cards or something. But here you can just grab more of your engine, and we do go into Beyond the Pendulum here. And as you've seen already, and maybe you already know, those power patrons, they're big. So in terms of just putting up 8,000 points of damage going second into this situation here, I would be surprised, honestly, if Leonardo doesn't find a way to do that.
I mean, not all of them are big, right? Jupredo is sitting at strong 300 attack points and 200 defense points, but he's got levels.
Yeah. And also, like on the other hand, we just accessed the Vidolium, the unstable power patron of Unity, which is 5,000 attack points, which helps a lot, honestly.
That is true.
That is more than half of the attack points required to go for game. We draw 2 more cards into this field. Yuna actually did get to combo decently well, it felt like, even through the Droll and Lockbird. But that one pot of sloth just snowballed like crazy here for Leonardo.
Yeah, I think if we can take away one learning from this game, it's with Cool Tune you have to negate Pot of Sloth, or else you're losing all of the advantages that your rotary worked so hard to get you.
Either that, or maybe the learning also is Pot of Sloth may be the new staple in the format since it's released. And like literally last week that card released, and that card is just going second. Maybe something everybody should play, or maybe you should even play it in the main deck, honestly, because when you go second and play that card, it's crazy.
Yeah, when you're going second, but then Lightning Storm is also a really good card. Would you main deck that?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I have before.
That is true. You were a Tenpai enjoyer.
I did have my fair share with that deck, that's true. But now we go into the effect of Exceed the Pendulum. We are still going strong here. Will we be able to get all of that required damage onto the field is the question here.
I want to mention that it's perfect flavor that under Exceed the Pendulum you can exceed summon with 2 Pendulum monsters.
Yeah, it is. It all works out perfectly fine.
The card is basically telling you how to play the deck.
Yeah, it does. It does very much so. One thing we have to consider, I think at this point we're locked into only attacking with power patrons for the rest of this turn. So we need to make sure there is a way that we can just go for game with only those. And I think that will have to require having Vidolium around. Because without the 5,000 attack points of that guy, I don't think we can get there.
I think you are perhaps thinking a little too far. Because if you just get your standard field up with a so crazy diminished hand of the Cool Tune deck that basically doesn't have a lot of follow-up, especially not since you've been drolled on the first one on Draco Summon.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And I mean, Jupiter is also big, though.
Yeah.
3,500. That's nothing to sniff at. And Leonardo is now also going to use the effect of his Junaldo. It's, oh, wow, and we do, like, I told you about it in game 1, now we get to witness it as well with all of them also hitting the field, that we have Synchros, Exceeds, Lynx, they don't care, they go for all of it, Pendulum Monsters, that's Junora now on the field. Also 3100, also a power patron, so, Leo, yes, I do see your point, but I also see a reason to believe that this might just be a way for game, but there is Ghost Bell and Haunted mention on the effect of Junora here.
So, Leonardo now needs to find out how to, I wanted to say play through this board, however there's just a clip. So I think that's going to be the easier task. Can he go for a game in this turn or set up a field that is so big that Yuna can't play through it?
And also, small correction, it wasn't on the effect of Junora, but it was on the effect, I'm pretty sure, of Vidolium in the Pendulum scale, because that could have technically brought something back from the graveyard. But that ain't happening, as we did have that Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion. But now, I'm back on your argument. That's one card less in hand for Yuna to come back with. We're only holding on to, I believe, 1 or 2 cards in hand now, max.
It can't be a lot. I think the line of hand trapping in the first turn from Leonardo was impeccable.
It was.
He went for a Fuvalos to make Yuna think that he doesn't have Droll and Lockbird. And I know Yuna. She would, most of the time with a hand like this, always reveal Rotary and Rekko, normal summon Rotary to play through Droll and Lockbird, set up to Cool Tune Synchros, because then that's all you need basically to at least play the game.
For sure.
Especially through a Fuvalos. But thinking that my opponent is not going to Droll himself after not getting a draw.
Surely not, yeah.
Surely they won't do this. But then, of course, still passing on a reasonable end field.
Oh!
So she still had...
I'm going to use your monster here. Let's go Underworld Goddess.
And Yuna has maybe tried to activate Clip, but then the Goddess could have also... Oh no, it's only Synchro Summons for Clip. Never mind.
Now Vidolium is being summoned by shuffling back. And we're not locked into only attacks with Power Patrons, are we?
Oh, we are.
We are, and Leonardo is realizing. Yuna tells him, there's no way you miss out on this in...
the playoff.
The playoffs.
Oh, but that was a heavy investment to go into the Underworld Goddess. That's a huge Link monster there. So that might be some interruption that you have missed out on.
And you saw the smirky little smile in the face of Leonardo, like just punching in with both of these monsters, and then Yuna, with a glimmer of hope in her eyes, immediately tells him, you are not allowed to attack with that Underworld Goddess. And now we're giving up the Underworld Goddess for an SP Little Knight. All of that, the entire turn. At some point having 4 different monsters on the field, all of that will just end in one SP Little Knight. That's crazy.
Yeah, the Little Knight just banished the Clip. That is not really what you want to have. But the SP Little Knight on very low cards in hand for Yuna, that's only 1 card in hand, could actually, maybe it's 2, could actually be crucial. Because if you normal summon and SP Little Knight banishes your monster, then you're kinda cooked. You need a combination of cards.
That's true. And it's only 2 cards in hand in total for Yuna. We're drawing to 3, and we are passing over. So Yuna still with hope, because Leonardo surely went all in. I don't think he has many hand interactions left in his hand. He probably, if he drew into some of those with Pot of Sloth, he must have given up on them.
I don't think you are playing a lot of hand traps anymore after Pot of Sloth. I think people have pivoted to siding some breakers with this card, because if you're finding multiple, it's going to be hard to play through that. Mix is being summoned, activated, SP Little Knight chains. Do you have another play? You know, you can search for Rotary if you have a Rekko or a Clip or any monster that synchros with a Rotary. This is your moment to shine, to get back into this game. Leonardo is shaking his head. Can Yuna find something to combo off with a Rotary? That is not a tough ask.
It really isn't. And if Yuna does manage to come back here, it's also such a mental challenge for Leonardo after really not having... Oh, wait, what are we looking for here? Leonardo is asking to... Wait, no, oh, we were just reordered. For a second, I was like, Leonardo's giving up. But let's wait whether Yuna actually has a playable combination here first.
Oh, we've banished the cards face down.
Oh, true, we haven't resolved Vidolium. Oh, you're right.
And now I wonder if that changes anything for Yuna. I mean, it's a little bit annoying that some of the cards are gone, right? Because with something like a Clip, you want to have access to something like your Zalen.
True, true.
We've searched for Rotary. That could be the start of something great. Reveal Rotary plus a strong tuner. Anything? Oh, she passes!
You gotta be kidding me! We search Rotary and we do not have anything to pair it up with. And Leonardo is still left with that SP Little Knight and also still the Power Patron, the Ronaldo in the scale. There's no way. There's so many cards. You just basically only need a tuner to go along with it. And we search for Terminus as follow-up on the last turn. Leonardo didn't think he would need the follow-up as he invested all of his energy into ending the game. But it was just like a little bonus. We were like, oh yeah, I have another search. I may as well just search for the Terminus here. And now it pays off crazy as we do get to send the Nerva here to the graveyard. And we fetch for the Meteors from the deck.
Maybe there is another interaction in Yuna's hand. She's got to have something next to the Rotary. Meteors is normal summoned effect, or perhaps special summoned. Looks like the reveal.
Oh my. We are going in.
In fact, do we have something like an Ash Blossom? Leonardo is shaking his head.
Did he think that's game? Because I mean, Mia's is 18 and also the Little Knight is 16, so that's 34. And how big is Mix?
100.
Yeah, that would do it.
That would do the trick, yeah.
But seems like that is not on the menu just yet. We are going to use the effect here of Jupredo in the scale. We're destroying the Mix. I mean, we may as well, why not? But that should now just enable us to seal it here.
I think you're still trying to play on a little bit because you don't want to make the big old classic mistake of playing into a Magnamut that could for some reason be there. I don't think that's a side in going first versus Power Patron.
Maybe it is.
But if it is, you kind of lose the game.
I mean, Meteor's Vapeur is dark, so like, and it does end up in the graveyards occasionally, so I think it might be possible. But we're passing back over.
Are we locked into attacking again?
There's no way. We're giving Yuna another turn here.
And she has Rotary. She normal summons Mix and SP Little Knight
again.
Chains to it, but we know that she has Rotary in hand for follow-up. You just search the Reco now. You might search a clip.
Leo, I was praising the Terminus, but the Terminus is the one that locks us. So we were only able to attack with Power Patron monsters and there were no Power Patrons left anymore. So Yuna does have another way to come back here. We have summoned Q and we are now finally back on the summoning out the Hydrolis Ammonia from the deck.
Oh, and now in a stalemate like this, manipulating the top deck with Clip is crazy important. But we are, first of all, going to go into a track maker. But the Hydrolis summon is so cool because that gives you such a fast access to B, where you can attack twice, not only once.
But are we on multiple back-to-backs? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Because one of them is banished face down here at the moment. So maybe we just brought out that Hydrolis Ammonia to have big attack points.
That also does work, I think.
It does. So we are just trying to play the regular game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Here. We're just trying to make sure that we get enough attack points onto the field to end this game in the old-fashioned way. By just attacking with over 8,000 points of damage.
Some classic Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, right? You gotta appreciate it. One thing also noteworthy, Leonardo could not use the effect of the Albion in the end phase. Because first of all, it was banished face down, as we found out then in the process. But also, he drew into the other Fawn and the Virtuous, and he had to discard it along the way. So there was never another target probably in the deck. So he wasn't too unhappy about banishing his own Albion there, ultimately.
RS is not too chunky, but still a pretty big boy.
Oh, Leonardo, we're counting. We're counting face-down banished cards.
There's got to be some reason for that.
Surely there is, but we're also... I mean, you know what's also tough now? With this really uncommon way of how this game plays out here, and with us going through multiple turns that were supposedly never going to happen, that took some time off the clock here as well. So like, if we are playing a game 3, and allow me to say, right now it does look kind of good for Yuna that we are heading into a game 3 as we go into Visas Amritara here searching for Manadium Reframing. That is not much time to play anymore for game 3. I mean, 15 minutes, sure, that can work out for sure, but it puts on some additional pressure, if there not already is enough pressure here in this match with World Championship participation at stake.
passed over back to Leonardo. He gets this SP Little Knight back. The mix comes back. If you find a big enough monster with 3,100 attack points that can attack, you can just run over that mix. That is very, very dangerous as a position for Yuna. We have seen multiple times already in the history of this game that one attack position monster that came back from SP Little Knight that has little attack can be crucial to a game plan falling apart. Even it doesn't matter how much advantage you have.
And I actually found out why we were counting those cards so aggressively. And actually, that is a huge thing. The field spell, the Vidolia, it lowers the opponent's monsters by 100 attack for each banished card. And there's a lot of banished cards. Like, they barely have attack points. I would be very doubtful that this actually gets over an SP Little Knight at this point. And I mean, it's worded in the way it says for each banished card. So I think we're accounting for both players' banished cards. So that's a ton, really. So that Meteor's Vapeur is able to do a lot of damage over the mix. That's 0 attack points on the mix, so that's 1,800. And the Little Knight is big enough to attack over Amritara. And that is the game there for Leonardo, because Amritara is super small as well. Leonardo Zacchetti, in a crazy fashion, takes the second game, takes round 1, and is on his way maybe to qualify for the World Championship.